Have we lost it? Hello again. Now, somewhere here we are. I've got a script here which I'm going to read to you. This is the next story. This is actually the first in Lincolnshire Standard Tales. It's a story from 1960. My first job when I left school, and the quite exciting things that happened to me during my time at the local newspaper. You read the title on the beginning of this about failing all my examinations and things. Well, schools today are so dependent on achievement for their income, and the government's so uptight about examination successes that they change the goalposts every now and again. And I suppose failing all your examinations couldn't really happen today, could it? You know, they couldn't afford it to happen. G.C.E. O-level exams in our area in the 1950s were set by Cambridge University. Standards were very high and passes were not gained easily. It was no fault of the school that I failed all my exams. I was actually quite good at some subjects like geography and physics, but abysmal at many more like maths. I was no academic, but enjoyed my school years. I was to find out later that my handwriting was so dreadful that nobody could read my exam papers. Well, that's my excuse, and it's very hard to argue with. Despite all my initial failures, I've enjoyed my very varied working life and would not change a moment of it. The story coming up now is about my first job at the Lincolnshire Standard newspaper group in their Boston Standard office in that well-known market town in South Lincolnshire. It all began in March 1960, and so on we go with the story. Okay, we're going to begin. This is a story called My First Main Job. It's taken from Lincolnshire Standard Tales, It's a Rum Life, Book 2, Boston, 1960 to 1970. My principal job at the Boston Standard newspaper was not really driving delivery vans, but selling advertising space, designing the adverts and writing the copy. I began straight from school, Boston Grammar School that is, where I took 8 subjects in G.C.E. O-level and managed to fail all 8. The job was supposed to be a stopgap, a position that I thought I might like, but had not really considered. My immediate boss was Roy Webley, a long-life newspaperman from Gloucestershire. Right from the start he told me, "I'm going to see just how much pressure you can cope with, young Keith." We planned short advert campaigns for clients who had limited budgets, and fortunately had a number of more wealthy clients who had their annual and weekly advertising programme planned well ahead. Classified adverts were an important money earner, and initially I was tasked with building up small-scale clients who could place small ads each week in specific categories. I quickly moved on to bigger things when colleague Ray Grange moved to our Skegness office. The design work I particularly liked, and talking to clients came easy. Telephone canvassing was more stressful and took some getting used to. After passing my driving test, the driving jobs became more numerous, and as I earned responsibility, I began reading the classified ad pages on Wednesday nights. I know I've written about this somewhere else, but here it is again, somewhat different. Reading. The Standard, a local weekly paper in the early 1960s, had classified ads on the first 8 or so pages from the front. Most readers went for the small ads, first being in a weekly paper, so the design was developed that way. It changed shortly after I left in 1966. Thursday was publication day, so on Wednesday evening the whole print staff worked late to finish preparing the paper for printing. All the classified ads were designed in a section of their own. For example, prams for sale, bicycles for sale, etc. My job was to ensure that each and every advert was in its correct category. This included a multitude of different categories, including private motor car sales. Miscellaneous sales were everything else, but in alphabetical order. The classified pages also included all situations vacant and property sales. No adverts were allowed to be duplicated or placed in the incorrect category. If anyone had to be given a free advert after publication because the ad was incorrect in any way, the boss went ballistic. He just did not like giving any money away, and especially to the staff. As the pages were made up in metal type, a proof sheet was printed by hand just for me. I had to read them carefully and have any errors corrected by the charge hand foreman of the compositors. He was a cranky old chap who had been working there all his life and made life very difficult for me, a 17-year-old lad. I had many heated exchanges in the middle of the composing room floor, trying to get Alf to make even small changes which involved lengthy work undoing the complete metal page with all its intricate pieces. I would normally finish about 10:30 p.m, and for this I had Saturday morning off. Great for me, but for most of the workers Saturday was a light morning and normally ended in the Nag's Head pub at about 11:30. There were other distinct benefits with reading the classified ads first. If there was anything I really needed, I had first choice and could normally make a purchase before the paper was even printed. This came in especially useful when I was setting up home with Ruth. Additionally, after work on Thursdays, I went down to the back door of the print room and sold the local edition to literally thousands of folk as they left work. They were normally after the for sale ads or job vacancies. I was earning £4 a week at the time, and I think I earned another £1 for selling the papers for 3 hours or so at night. Goodness knows what that amount would be today. I had a good boss teaching me the ins and outs of the job, and we always tried our best to make the client's hard-earned brass work for the client's advantage, as well as to that of supplementing the newspaper coffers and paying our wages. Over the 6 years or so at the newspaper, I made some good friends among these clients. People who, despite the fact I was always trying to get them to part with their money, really seemed to appreciate the work I put into designing and writing adverts that really worked for them. Moving. Looking back on these times now, it is difficult to see when I managed to devote the time to my basic job, when at any time I was going to be asked to imitate Sterling Moss or Mike Hawthorne in a minivan. It was after several carpetings from the big boss that I began to doubt my future here. It was about this time that I first met Fred Popham. I'd been married to Ruth for a short while, and the writing on the wall told me I should look for a job with better prospects. The Telegraph was the daily newspaper with the best career vacancies, so I diligently began to subscribe as an avid reader. Letter writing came relatively easy after several years of advertising copywriting, and I had eventually passed G.C.E. O-level English language on my third attempt. After months of writing countless applications, I was rewarded by a reply from the Firestone Company. I was to meet their district manager from Lincoln, who would interview me with the likelihood of future employment. That district manager was Fred Popham, who, unbeknown to me, would become the single most influential person in the whole of my life. Our interview was very relaxed and informal in one of the local hotel bars. He explained what the company required, and if I did not wish to move location to another part of the UK at that time, then there were no vacancies in the immediate area. At the same time, he said that although my sales experience at the Standard would be valuable to me and to them as future employers, I should ideally have some experience of the motor trade. He suggested I look for an immediate job and keep in touch with his office. I was also asked to use my position in the newspaper to let him know if any likely property were to come on the market in the town that Firestone could utilise as a retail tyre and auto store. The meeting was most amicable and we parted company, with me resolving to change direction in my career. Even the slight possibility of being employed by a multinational company was difficult to comprehend. Now this is the end bit. I'm just looking up. I've got a script for this as well. Thanks for reading. Thanks for staying with us and coming to the end of the story. I hope you enjoyed that bit. If you want a few laughs, then follow some of those stories in Lincolnshire Standard Tales. There are car chases and accidental damage to vehicles, all in pre-1960s, very underpowered vehicles compared with modern day transport. Well, it all happened over 50 years ago. Remember, you can download the complete book of stories from our website. That's It's a Rum Life Book 2, Boston, 1960 to 1970. Thanks for being with us today, and until the next time, cheerio.